It's a beautiful night for baseball in Atlanta, and it is Firefighter Appreciation Night here at Turner Field. We salute those fine men and women for all of their sacrifices and hard work in keeping us safe, and hopefully they'll see a good ball game tonight. Third, final, and rubber game of our set between the Braves and the Colorado Rockies. Hi again, friends. Joe and Chip, welcome to the ballpark. How appropriate. It's not Johan Flambe, but Johan Flande who gets the ball for the Rockies in Game 3 of the series. He'll face Braves right-hander Shelby Miller.
That's a good one. Flande used to be in the Braves organization, but signed as a free agent with the Rockies a couple of years ago. He's the second left-hander in this three-game series. The Braves won Game 1 of this series against a lefty, and hopefully more of the same tonight. But Flande, as you see here, has had a real good run of things as a starter for the Rockies, including an outstanding changeup. You start looking for the changeup, yeah, he can zip the fastball by it about 90 miles an hour. But for Flande, he's found a home, it looks like, after being with 2 or 3 different organizations. 29 years old, out of the Dominican Republic. In his starts, very good numbers for the Colorado Rockies. And oddly enough, he's pitched better at Coors Field than he has on the road.
Which is what we hope happens tonight in support of Shelby Miller. The Braves' flamethrower has been way overdue for a big league win. It's been mid-May since Shelby Miller's picked up a victory.
I got that, flamethrower. Okay, I'm on it. Shelby Miller's due. Yes, he is. Absolutely, he is. And what a start he had here at home his last time out against the Arizona Diamondbacks. How about a riding fastball up and in that was working all day long, and he did come close to another no-hitter. He had everything working, was outstanding, but still, he got a no decision. Hopefully tonight, will this be the night? Let's hope so. His last 5 home games, outstanding, except no W's in the win column. Gasoline was a nickel the last time he won a game.
Should be a beautiful night for baseball. The Braves and the Rockies wrap things up. When we come back, Christina Fitzpatrick will join us. Always great to talk about the resurgence of Braves submarining right-hander Peter Moylan. We'll have that for you right after this.
Atlanta goes for the series win tonight. And throughout the season, there's been so many new faces, debuts and great stories to tell when it comes to new guys joining the Braves. But perhaps the most inspirational story of them all is from familiar face reliever Peter Moylan, who's come a long way to get back to this Braves bullpen this season. When you take a look back, he first signed with Atlanta in 2006. In 2009, he set an Atlanta record with 87 appearances. He has been through 2 Tommy John surgeries, back surgery, and shoulder surgery throughout his career. This is what he had to say when it comes to his mindset coming to the park every day this season.
I think I'm having more fun right now. To be honest, I wish, obviously, the results were a little better on the field for the team. But as far as me personally goes, I know where I've been, and I know that this is what you want. This is what you want out of life. So I'm going out there and I'm enjoying every second that I can. I've also learned that you never know when it's going to be taken away from you. So I'm trying to enjoy every second that I have out on the mound. Obviously, when I first got called up, I had a quiet moment to myself where I thought about the work that I put in for 18 months, and it's all paid off. But now it's about keeping up that workload and making sure that I can maintain my physical strength so I can make it through more than just a couple of months.
Peter Moylan having some fun this season and making it fun to be around in the clubhouse. Next, Shelby Miller takes the mound, looking for a win tonight in the series finale against the Rockies. We'll have lineups and first pitch coming at you after the break.
Shelby Miller can subdue the Rockies, and if the Braves can win this series and take 2 out of 3. Charlie Blackmon, the former star at Georgia Tech, leads off their Academy sports starting 9. Jose Reyes at shortstop hits second. Carlos Gonzalez back in the lineup after missing last night's game with a bad knee. DJ LeMahieu cleans up for the first time in a Rocky uniform. Paulson, Hundley, Descalso, Barnes, and Flande will face the ever-hopeful Shelby Miller in Game 3 tonight.
Let's hope tonight's the night. 24 years old, 6'3", 195. He was 14 years old, 5'7", 140 the last time he won a game in the big leagues. He's out of Brownwood, Texas. His first eight starts were really good. His last 17, he's got no run support. He's 0-9. His 4 keys to pitching success: it's always good to pitch in front of Dad. His dad is here tonight. Have a good game, win a game with your dad present, and stay aggressive, and he has been aggressive through all of this.
That is some deep statistical analysis.
Nobody knew that.
I certainly didn't, and I'll bet the Rockies didn't either. As it is Firefighter Appreciation Night here at Turner Field, and Blackmon is ahead in the count, 1 ball, no strikes. Breezy night, Wind blowing across the diamond out toward the left center field fence. A few puffy clouds overhead. Another gorgeous night. And a fly ball well hit toward right. Markakis in the dappled sunshine gets there, and Blackmon's retired for out number 1. One thing I hope happens for Shelby, easy innings early in the game. We've seen him exert a lot of energy, high pitch counts first couple of innings before he's able to settle in.
Yeah, there was one night, I think it was a 30 pitch inning plus before he got out of there.
Jose Reyes takes a strike, says Vic Carapazza. He's got the plate tonight.
It's interesting. He shows bunt. He doesn't have one bunt hit this year.
And the Braves have pitched him really tough in this series. Reyes is 0 for 8.
Well, he's always been, I think, a better left-handed hitter, a quicker bat, especially down and in, and they've stayed away from that area.
Slashed foul and out of play. Reyes still behind 0-2. Walt Weiss was talking about Jose Reyes today on MLB Network Radio. Much was made of Reyes and his statements that he'd like to play for a contender before his career is over. As this one's hit toward Markakis and right, and he'll play it on a hop. First hit of the series for Reyes. A 1-out single. There's no complaint, I'm sure, about Reyes being traded from a Toronto club that's probably headed to the playoffs, and now in Colorado, a team that's fighting to avoid the worst record in Major League Baseball this year. And he is 32 years old.
Yeah, that would be an eye-opener for you. I think that would be disappointing. But still, you've got 24 other teammates here on this ball club that are fighting to just try to win some ball games. And for you to say you won out, you haven't even been here 2 weeks, that's not a good thing for morale.
A ball to Carlos Gonzalez, the Rockies right fielder. One big impediment for Reyes, 2 more years on his contract at enormous money. And a hefty buyout added on as well. So we'll see how it plays out as he leads at first and is back standing up. Reyes is 3 out of 7 in steals with Colorado, stole 16 bases with Toronto, and was caught just twice. And this one is whacked up the middle, a base hit. Reyes around second. He will motor to third and make it without a throw. Back-to-back singles. Gonzalez and Reyes aboard for DJ LeMahieu.
My goodness, he hits the ball hard. Fastball, outer third, covered. Reyes got a hanging breaking ball, pick on his hit. Some kind of good hitter there. 2 of them.
This is DJ LeMahieu, 3 for 4 last night with 3 RBIs for the Rockies. He was 0 for 4 in the series opener on Monday. Rockies had an interesting note on LeMahieu. He's hitting cleanup for the first time this year. He has now hit in all 9 spots on the lineup card this year, and is the first Rocky to do that in 1 calendar season. And he's batting .314.
That 0 for 4 in game 1 was kind of a continuation of a rough homestand he had at Coors Field. But he got it turned around last night.
One ball, 1 strike. First and third for the Rockies in the opening inning. And Shelby missed a little outside. 2-1.
Shelby pitched on July 10th at Coors Field, got beat 5-3. He gave up a bunch of hits, 5 innings, 11 hits. Only 1 walk, struck out 7.
Little roller at third, foul. Adonis Garcia handles in Foul territory. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
LeMahieu's hit into a bunch of double plays. Shelby Miller not exactly a double play type pitcher. More strikeouts and flyouts.
He struck him out. Big pitch by Shelby Miller. LeMahieu didn't get it. And his first strikeout is the second out of the inning.
Needed that. Down and away at 95. Pitch that actually came back a little bit to the outer third. Good pitch.
Here's Ben Paulson. He had a homer here Monday. And drove in a run last night as well. Pride of Kell High School. And he's late. Strike 1.
And right at the target.
That's taken high. 1 ball, 1 strike. Paulson a chance to try to fill the shoes of Rockies legend Todd Helton at first base. Hope Todd's doing well. Maybe he's watching the game. 1 ball, 1 strike. It's 1-2.
Another good slider. The one he threw, Reyes, stayed up in the zone, and that's why Jose was able to pull it to right. That pitch was down.
Miller in sunshine delivers, and strike 3, belt high inside corner. I don't know if Paulson saw it. He took it. Miller struck him out. The Rockies strand a pair in the opening inning. Good start for Shelby Miller at home. He hits the glove. Bethencourt, nice frame job. Braves are coming up. As the Rockies fail to score, here's the Braves lineup presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. The M&M boys at the top, Markakis and Maben. Boy, they've been good offensively for Atlanta. Got to get Freddie Freeman going in the number 3 spot. Lefty on the mound. That means Johnny Gomes cleans up, and he's in left. Garcia, Peterson, Bethencourt behind the plate. Simmons and Miller. Former Braves farmhand Johan Flande is on the mound for the Rockies.
29, 6'2", 180 pounds out of the Dominican Republic. His 8 home games at Coors Field, mind you. 3.62 ERA, and he's undefeated on the road. His ERA jumps to 4.42. His last start against Washington at home, pitched great against the Nationals and beat them 3-2. 7 innings, gave up only 2 runs, walked 3, struck out 5. Fastball, changeup, slider.
And as we showed you in the pregame show, the Braves this year have had their share of troubles against left-handed pitchers, but lately they've been hitting them very well. That trend we hope continues tonight. And that's off the plate. 1 ball, no strikes for Nick Markakis, who's picked up 5 more hits in this series. Nick now with 146 hits for the year.
And as Brian Jordan said before the game on Braves Live, he's a professional hitter. Who cares about the homers this year? Guy's just racking up hits every night.
Slowly out towards second. LeMahieu's got it, and Markakis is retired for the first out of the inning.
Flande's fastball sits between 89 and 92. If you saw some of that video in our opening remarks, you saw that he's got a very good changeup. That's pretty much his out pitch.
I think it's safe to say, Joe, that in a season that's really lost for Colorado to this point, Flande's been a very nice find for them. We all know the issues that the Rockies have in developing their own pitching. Flande's done a nice job for them.
Well, and they didn't give up on him. He didn't pitch well at all last year. His first year in their organization, he went 0-6 at an ERA of 5+. But only 12 walks in 46 innings now. So he's throwing strikes, and that's a big plus for him.
2 balls, 1 strike. Flande pitched in the Braves system from 2011 to 2013, won 65 games in the minor leagues in that stretch. So good for him. Glad he's getting a chance in the big leagues with the Rockies. Maven draws a 1-out walk and is aboard in front of Freddie Freeman. 13th walk in 46 innings for Flande. And now Freddie goes to work. Freddie's looking for his first hit in this series. He's 0 for his last 10. And has only 5 hits since coming back from his oblique injury. Up the middle, tricky hop, nice turn, and a double play. Flande gets out of the first inning. The Braves have no luck, and we go to the second. Still no score. Long time since Shelby Miller has experienced a victory is an understatement.
How about this? Since his last win, May 17th, Jake Arrieta's won 12 games. Colby Lewis has an ERA almost 5, and he's racked up 11 wins. 404 pitchers have at least one win over that stretch, and half of them have been out of the bullpen. 5 no-hitters thrown. 162 transactions for the Braves. And I think I was combing my hair then.
Well, that might be pushing it, but it's been a long time.
That's what I was doing there for a while. I was just pushing it.
Yes, you were. As Nick Hundley skies one out of play. Strike one. You know Shelby's got to be frustrated by it. If it is frustrating him, at least outwardly, he's not showing it on the mound with an occasional sort of look to the heavens as if to say, what next? But as you said, his dad's here. Throughout the first pitch, threw a strike. Maybe that's a good sign for Shelby. Base hit the other way by Hundley on an 0-1 count. And he's on his way to second base. Markakis digs it out. And that's the Rockies' third hit of the night.
First hit for Hundley in the series. No, I think there have been times, especially on those nights where Shelby has not pitched well, where he wonders, you know, what have I got to do to get this going? Another decent pitch that was on the outside edge, and Hundley went with it.
Well, that part of it you understand. If he's not pitching well, you don't necessarily expect to pick up the win. It's the nights where he's pitched great and hasn't gotten a victory that makes you crazy. He's had 10 starts this year where he's allowed 1 run or less and hasn't won a single one of them.
Yeah, that's an amazing number.
And he's in more trouble here in the second inning with former Cardinal teammate Daniel Descalso in the batter's box. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Descalso had a hit off of him in Colorado, had a triple. You wanted that pitch. Looked like he hit the glove right where Bethancourt had set up.
That one's low, and Shelby wants a new baseball. 3 balls and a strike. Barnes and then Flande due next for the Rockies. Descalso will try to get Hundley to third at the very least. Nick led off with a double. Braves and Rockies are both off tomorrow. Colorado will have a travel day and spend the day off in Pittsburgh tomorrow. The Braves will be home and welcome the Yankees to town tomorrow. Friday night. First pitch at 7:35. And ball 4 to Descalso. 2 on, nobody out. Yankees were beaten today by Houston 6-2. Evan Gattis hit a couple of home runs at Yankee Stadium. The second one, a tape measure shot above the bullpens and left in New York. Brandon Barnes, the batter.
And having to work from behind in the count. Can't get that first pitch strike in there.
Is Shelby mad at Shelby, or is he mad at the strike zone?
I don't know. He's not missing by much, at least side to side. He's not getting that call, but he's not missing it by just a fraction.
That split the plate. 2 balls and a strike. That's out of play to the right. Even count now for Brandon Barnes. Miller could use a strikeout.
Not a whole lot, unlike the first inning when he was able to get the strikeout of Mayhew that at least set up chance to get out of the inning without any damage, and then he got another K. Missing low. That's not a bad thing to miss low here early. He can make some adjustments off that, but particularly with runners on base, gonna miss down there. PNC Bank shows you that was just off the bottom line of the zone.
In the air to right. Markakis plays it on a hop, and the Rockies have him loaded with nobody out.
Hundley wanted to run, but he had to make sure that Markakis didn't catch it, so he only makes it to third base, and that'll bring the pitcher up. That pitch was tailing right back into Barnes. He's now 3 for 8 off Shelby.
And it looks like Flande can swing the bat a bit. He's got 3 hits and 15 tries and an RBI. But he's also struck out 10 times. He missed the bunt attempt. Strike 1. Very similar situation for the first baseman Freddie Freeman as the Rockies face. Sun's right in the first baseman's eyes.
If he gets in his fielding position, he might have a break there, or he needs to move in, which he's doing now.
That is a foul ball. Bethancourt waited to the very last moment. And he almost waited too long, because by the time he picked up the ball, Hundley was past him and ready to step on top of the plate.
Yeah. I thought he was going to just pick it up. If it was fair, just pick it up and tag Hundley, and then, okay, no harm, and you got an out. So right there, what's he? I guess he's waiting on it to go fair. Don't do that. Not without runner bearing down.
Oh, 0-2. And into the seats, out of play. Bases loaded. No outs. And Miller, a high pitch count. Strike 3, 1 out. Number 3 for Shelby tonight. Now to the top of the order, and Charlie Blackmon. And he's a tough out.
All right, it was timely that the pitcher was up there, and he did put him away. So now make some good pitches. And it's like we hear Glavine, Smoltz, others talk about it when they're up here with us about how don't try to make a pitch to avoid giving up a run. Make pitches to get out of the inning by only giving up 1 run and avoid a big inning.
Again, he missed low.
Let's check out our PNC Bank box tracks again. And it was.
Blackmon has hit into 3 double plays this year. And that one off the pitcher, right out to second. Simmons is going to turn it. Make it number 4. Colorado loads the bases and cannot score. Blackmon doubled up on a rocket shot back through the middle.
That was a great ricochet there.
A 1-4-6-3 double play sends us to the home second scoreless. Threw a big double play into their second inning threat. And now the Braves are up behind Johnny Gomes in the second. Today only thanks to the Braves Steal of the Week. Get Club Pavilion seats for $25 each or Terrace Reserved seats for just $35 when the Yankees come to town this Sunday, August 30th. Go to Braves.com/steal before midnight tonight to take advantage of this great offer. Braves are expecting big crowds all weekend with the Yankees in town. And the Braves have asked us to remind you that if you don't have prepaid parking for games at Turner Field, you are strongly encouraged to use MARTA. 7:35 first pitch on Friday night. Joe and I will have that one for you, as well as Sunday's game. Saturday's game will be nationally televised on Fox Sports 1. Gomes, Garcia, and Peterson coming up. And Flande missed. 1 ball, no strikes.
Johnny sure had a good game here Monday night.
He had one of the longest home runs of the year.
Seems like he always has good games against Colorado.
One ball, 2 strikes. And Hundley blocked that. Johnny Gomes' career batting average against Colorado, 26 games, 9 home runs, and a .325 career average. And Flande with a look in at Vic Carapazza. That ball looked to be well inside. He thought it was strike 3. Instead, it's a full count.
He was trying to get it to back up and come back over the inside corner, but it didn't. And he's walking over like he is expecting the ball to be thrown to third.
Ball 4. Gomes walks and looks out toward the pitcher, who turns his back. And the leadoff man on for Atlanta here in the second. Second walk for the Colorado pitcher. That's low. 1 ball, no strikes. Scouting report that we got on Flande was he doesn't have a big fastball, as you said, but what the Rockies really like, Joe, is he is not afraid of anything.
No, not at all. And that changeup, when it's on, it's really good, as it was against Washington.
And he's missed badly inside a couple of times here in the second inning. 2 balls and a strike.
And he's overthrowing, and that's what Hundley's probably going to try to get him to calm down about. And maybe tell him that pitch wasn't a strike that you thought was a strike. Let's get back on it here.
Two balls, 1 strike. And a shot to left. Base hit for Garcia. And the Braves have 2 on with nobody out. First Atlanta hit of the game. And that'll bring up Jace Peterson.
Pitch that was down. Fastball. Knee high. And he's able to turn on it.
2013, Flande led the Gwinnett Braves in wins, complete games, second in innings pitched, third in quality starts, third on the team in strikeouts, and third in overall starts. And now getting a chance with the Rockies. And Peterson pushes a bunt toward third. It's a good bunt, low throw, and dug out at first by Paulson. Peterson with a sacrifice. Runners are at second and third with 1 out. Braves might want to take a look at this play at first base.
I like this, though. Playing for a couple of runs early for Shelby Miller. Play for a big inning later. Out.
And Bethancourt now becomes the key man in the inning. 5-3 sacrifice sends Gomes to third, Garcia to second, 1 out. This has been a spot that has really gone dry for the Braves since they were 42 and 42. Broken bat, deep short. Reyes has it, long throw to first in time. That brings home the game's first run. Bethancourt broke his bat but picked up an RBI. And Atlanta strikes first. It's 1-0.
And that's what that bunt was all about. If the Braves don't move that runner over, there's no run on the board here. Infield back, so put it in play, and that's what Bethancourt did. Picked up an RBI in the process, his 10th of the year.
It'll go as an out with a runner in scoring position. Bethancourt brings the run home. Last 42 games, Braves are hitting .224 with runners in scoring position. And the Rockies will take the bat out of the hands of Andrelton Simmons. And Shelby Miller will come to the plate with a lead.
First 84 games, Braves were playing .500 baseball, and the number with runners in scoring position was a large contributor to that .500 record. It has not been a part of that 12 and 30 mark. And 174 in their last 10 games in that category.
Shelby will try to help himself now. First and second with 2 outs. Shelby 3 for 42 at the plate. Ripped out of play into the upper deck, foul. It's strike 1 to Miller.
Here's something else that you can look at if you like. 54 plate appearances total for Shelby Miller on the year, including sacrifices and walks. In his first 25 starts, that's an average of over 2 plate appearances per outing. That's somewhere at least in the middle of the game. He's pitching deep in the ball game to get that many plate appearances.
Well, he could use an easy inning. He'll go to the 3rd inning, and he enjoys a 1-0 advantage. Pretty night in Atlanta. Things looking good for Shelby Miller. Guess what? We're through 2, and he's got a lead, Joe.
Hot dog. That hasn't happened very often. Last 17 starts, only 17 1/3 innings as he pitched with a lead out of 104 plus. Whew. Look at him, he's giddy. I'd be giddy too after that double play that ricocheted off of him to second, to short, to first to get out of that 2nd inning.
Rockies have to be kicking themselves. They've had base runners all over the place, but don't have a run yet. Reyes picked up their first hit in the 1st inning and was stranded. Popped up out of play by Reyes. 1 ball, 1 strike. We'll keep posted on all the other action in the big leagues as we move ahead. Mets are seemingly unstoppable. They've scored 3 more runs early against the Phillies tonight. 3-0 in the 2nd inning at Citizens Bank. Peterson to his right. Nifty play gets Reyes 1 out.
I think I think Jace's range up the middle has gotten better as the summer has gone on. And a lot of times on that ground ball, he was having to dive to try to knock it down, and he made that one without any trouble.
Confidence?
Could be. That and just knowing where to play hitters and counts. knowing his pitcher's a little better, all that adds up.
Cargo with a rifle shot in the first inning up the middle. Takes down and in, 1 ball, no strikes. Well, Terry Pendleton, Bo Porter, both those men have worked tirelessly with Jace Peterson on his defensive work at second base. It seems to me it's a great deal of comfort when the ball's hit to that side of the infield. You feel pretty good that Jace is going to at least get a glove on the ball.
Yeah. I was listening today to a game driving in. I think it was the Oakland A's, who have made more errors than anybody in baseball. And their shortstop and second baseman have made half of their errors. They've made 100 errors, and those two guys have made 50 of them.
Yeah, Marcus Semien, I think, is the kid that has
a shortstop. He's got 30.
A gazillion, yeah.
So consider yourself fortunate to have players up the middle for the Braves who are making the plays and don't have but a fraction of those errors.
3 balls, 2 strikes.
Well, this guy moved around a lot before he came into his own in Colorado, didn't he? Changed teams, or was in the lower minors, was involved in a lot of trades as part of deals.
Miller got him to swing and miss. Cargo was originally a Diamondback, then went to Oakland.
Go ahead.
Was traded for Dan Herron, then came to Colorado for Matt Holliday. Houston Street also came to Colorado in that deal, and then signed to a 7-year contract that takes him through the 2017 season. Ground ball by LeMahieu to second. Shelby Miller has a shutdown inning, and an easy inning at that. 3 up, 3 down. Top of the order will go to work for the Braves, who lead 1-0. Will lead things off. It's trivia time tonight. Nick leads the Braves with 146 hits so far this year. Name the last Brave with a 180 hit season or better.
Two guys, Chipper, and he was the MVP, I'm thinking, that year, and Marquise Grissom.
1 ball, no strikes for Nick Markakis, whose career high in hits is 191. He set that back in 2007 with Baltimore. And I'm with you. As good as Nick has been this year, it's exciting to think about how much better and healthier he will be after an off season of rest and his normal workout routine. He's not going to hit 30 home runs, but he's going to hit more than 2, you'd think.
Well, he couldn't do anything upper body related. You know, it was shoulder related. Nothing that might aggravate that surgery he had on his neck.
Bouncing ball up the middle. Another hit for Markakis, his 6th of the series.
So what you're looking at is pretty much a guy who's gotten himself in shape by just playing, swinging the bat. Stake down the middle. That was the change up. And that was the pitch he was really locating well against Washington.
Let's add on for Shelby Miller. Cameron Maybin is the batter. Maybin was issued a first inning walk. And a strike. Like watching Vic Carapazza behind the plate. He lets you know quickly, ball or strike. He's the son-in-law of former umpire Richie Garcia.
Is he really?
Uh-huh.
Boy, Richie was a good one. Love watching him work.
No balls and a strike from Maybin. Was Richie the umpire in the famous Jeffrey Mayer game? Was that him in right field?
Yes.
Yankee Stadium?
Yes.
I only bring that up because it was such a big play before replay and a difficult play for an umpire. I hope fans will appreciate how good Richie Garcia was and don't remember him only for that. Bouncing ball toward Reyes. High hop, tricky hop, and LeMahieu the turn, and they got Maybin. So Colorado turns its second double play of the game. The first came off the bat of Freddie Freeman, and he'll hit with the bases empty.
Reyes still a good shortstop. I know he's probably, to Colorado fans, not Troy Tulowitzki, but he's still good. And LeMahieu, for a guy his size, he's got very quick hands. But I've seen how quick your hands are. You're a big dude. You could be the newest, biggest second baseman in baseball.
I take up a lot of space. I can promise you that.
Be hard to knock you off your feet on double play balls.
Or go around me.
That's, yeah. You'd have to run out of the baseline.
Yeah. Big advantage for a defense. LeMahieu 6'4". Maybe he's going to start a trend of big second basemen like guys like Cal Ripken and Barry Larkin did for the shortstop position. Ripped back foul. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
I realize this guy's left-handed, and that presents another set of issues for you when you're first coming back for Freddie Freeman, but I still contend he's kind of jamming himself. He's diving in so much that if they continue to pitch him in, he's going to have to make an adjustment to that.
Would this, well, is this spring training like time for Freddie? As much time as he has missed, as that's taken outside? He had the wrist problem that cost him a month, and he came back a handful of games and then injured the oblique and then had to miss 2 more weeks.
I wouldn't think so. I think it would come a lot sooner than that. The feel anyway. But he's so aggressive. We know how aggressive he is on the first pitch. It kind of extends to everything else. He wants to get on the pitch.
Well, he was patient there, and Flande's issued 4 walks already tonight. One of them to Gomes, and he scored the game's only run.
Tell you what, if he wants to hit one out to left tonight, he's going to have to get on it. That wind is blowing in hard.
One ball, 2 strikes. A lot of the players and coaches were commenting on the weather here in Atlanta. This is, I mean, what a break.
Yeah. And no humidity.
We haven't really had an extended stretch of hot, sticky weather here at the ballpark this summer. And Gomes didn't get it. Good changeup by Flande. That's his second strikeout. We head to the Rockies' 4th, 1-0 Atlanta.
Night at Turner Field. Shelby Miller's dad, Mitch, threw out the first pitch as a member of the Brownwood Fire Department in Shelby's hometown back in Texas. Dad is in for 24 hours from Texas to watch Shelby pitch, something he says is never easy to do. He and Shelby's wife, Amy, are up in the stands rooting for a win for Shelby tonight. And one thing that Shelby told us that has helped him through this streak without having a win is the fact that he's got such a great group of teammates around him. He said these guys are selfless and they come every day to the park ready to play, and it's made it a little easier to swallow, guys.
Yeah, I've heard him say that, Christina, that his teammates are the ones that help him get through it. To his credit, there's been no finger pointing or complaining about the lack of run support or a play not made behind him or anything like that. He has been professional through every one of the starts.
Swing and a miss by Paulson. I think you made a great point a moment ago, Joe, about Miller from an offensive standpoint, how deep he's gone into games with the worst run support in Major League Baseball. And with a lead in 18 1/3 innings out of 105 1/3 innings pitched. Think about that.
Yeah, that's stressful innings too, where you can't afford to give up any more, or it's a scoreless game. I know if I give up one, there's a good chance I'm going to lose. So all that weighs on you or can play with your head when you're trying to make a good pitch to get out of an inning.
He's got a good fastball tonight. He's already struck out 5 men. And Nick Hundley greets him. He led off the second with a double. Right now the Rockies are kicking themselves. They had first and third, 1 out in the first, couldn't score. They had bases loaded, nobody out in the second, and couldn't score.
Shelby can get on a run too. He's retired 6 in a row. with 3 strikeouts, and he can get through middle innings real fast with the way he's working right now.
Popped up. Peterson on the run. Wynn playing with that, and in foul ground he makes the grab. Tough play. And there's out number 2. Well, Miller got on a roll while he was a member of the Cardinals at Busch Stadium against Colorado. May 10th, 2013, a complete game 1-hitter. The 1 hit was to the first batter in the ball game. He then retired the next 27 men in a row. And he's gotten 7 straight men. Here's Descalso.
So he threw a perfect game. It just happened that somebody came out of the stands and got a hit before he was ready.
Right. Right. Pop fly foul. 1 ball, 1 strike. It's happened before where a pitcher's come on, given up a hit and gotten hurt, or given up a walk, and a reliever has come in and retired the next 27. But no such luck for Mr. Miller. That's low, ball 2. In the air toward left. Maben gallops over and in front of Johnny Gomes, makes the grab and almost had a collision. Maben got to it. 8 up, 8 down for Shelby Miller. Adonis Garcia leads off the 4th. Atlanta leads 1-0 on a windy night at Turner Field in downtown Atlanta. Tonight, Shelby Miller trying to buck history and pick up his first win in 18 starts. Hope you'll join us for Julio Teheran bobblehead night, September 10th, when the Braves face the Mets. The first 20,000 guests will get a bobblehead featuring the young Braves right-handed starter. It's all presented by Grady Hospital. Get your tickets today by visiting Braves.com.
Julio's pitching like Julio Teheran again. We keep saying that, and it's just great to see after the first half of the season that was a struggle for him.
Had a feel for Adonis Garcia last night. No hits at the plate and 3 very costly errors for Mike Fultonevich. As that one's whistled past Reyes, who got a glove on it but couldn't come up with it. Garcia's 2 for 2 tonight. Freddie Gonzalez was asked before the game, hey, do you say anything to Adonis Garcia after a night like that? He said no, no more so than you'd say to a pitcher who gives up a couple of home runs or a hitter goes 0 for 4.
And the good thing too about having a manager like Freddie is he runs you right back out there the next day. You don't get exiled to the bench where you've got to think about it for a couple of days before you play again.
For Adonis, a 2-hit night feels very good as Jace Peterson bats. And another butt. Descalso sniffed that one out, made a fine play. And look at Hundley scramble down the third base line to protect third base.
That sacrifice by Jace in the second inning certainly proved pivotal, as Bethancourt was able to come through with a base hit. Now let's see if he can get another one.
But you can understand why Jace is thinking about a bunt against a left-handed pitcher. He has had trouble against lefties this year. 198 batting average with 28 strikeouts and 91 at bats. So he's helped the cause with a couple of bunts. Bethancourt picked up an RBI as a result of the first sacrifice. Let's see what he does here with one out. Strike one.
I think I said last night that Flande was in the trade.
Didn't I?
Yeah, Flande was in the trade with David Hale to Colorado, and that's not right. It was Gus Schlosser who went with David Hale in the trade to Colorado in the offseason. Flande was signed by the Rockies as a minor league free agent before the 2014 season.
And Flande had 65 minor league wins. Not all of those came to the Braves, as I said earlier. He had 23 wins in the Braves system. Well, you pitch as long as he did in the minors without much opportunity to get to the big leagues. Good to see him taking advantage of it. And if you have any success at all, the Rockies will give you a long look. Strike three. Bethancourt took it. He's retired. That's the third strikeout. And two men are out.
That's the pitch he was trying to get called a strike earlier tonight when he was walking off the mound, trying to get it to come back over the inside corner. He was able to do that there.
And again, they will pitch around Andrelton Simmons and face Shelby Miller with 2 on and 2 out. 5 walks now for Johan Flande.
Good to see Walt Weiss again. Saw him in the Rockies clubhouse before the game. Still looks like he could play.
Every time we show that replay of the Walt Weiss game in the playoffs, it's just amazing to me how hard the ball was hit in that bases loaded situation, and the throw, the accuracy and the strength he got on that throw from the fielding position he had to.
I thought the game was over. I thought the series was over. I did. I thought
really?
That was it. Yeah. Could not believe, A, that he gloved it, and B, that he was able to make a throw.
Well, Walt's been a good baseball man for a long time, and he's played with some great managers too. No balls and a strike. But I can't think of a more difficult place to manage your first time around in the big leagues than Colorado.
Me too. I agree with you.
Weiss played for Tony La Russa, Rene Lachemann, Don Baylor, and Bobby Cox. And if he can combine all the best traits of those 4 men, he's going to have a great managerial career.
Yeah, and he's got Rene Lachemann on his staff now.
Almost hit him inside. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Just guess right here, Shelby. Just guess off speed. Just stay back, wait. He throws the fastball, so be it.
It was off speed and over the outside corner, and Flande has his 4th strikeout. 1-0 Atlanta. We're off to the 5th. Lines get us from city to city. We've got a nice long homestand, so we won't see our friends at Delta for a few more days. We'll be traveling a week from tonight when we make our way to Washington. Another look at the Washington Nationals. A chance for the Braves to really wreck the Nationals season on the road at Nationals Park. Washington is losing tonight. The Mets are winning tonight. In National League play, the Mets with a 5½ game lead in late August.
Padres got a 2-run double from Kemp and a 2-run homer from Justin Upton early.
That's popped up by Brandon Barnes. Long run for Freddie Freeman, and right in front of the camera. Well, can't make the play. And Barnes is quickly behind 0-2.
Just missed it.
Look alive down there, Christina. We've already had one reporter injured with a thrown or batted ball the last week. That was Jen up in Chicago. Fastball missed. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Tyson Ross pitching for San Diego tonight. Gio Gonzalez for the Nationals. That's 3-0 over the Phillies. That's Bartolo Colon and Jared Eichhoff, one of the youngsters they got from the Texas Rangers in the Cole Hamels deal. And a swing and a miss. Barnes didn't get it. Miller's 6th strikeout, and he set down 9 in a row.
It looked like a 2-seamer. Might have been a cutter. Might have been a cutter that went like a 2-seamer moving away from him. Good pitch though. 6 strikeouts, and he is on one of those rolls.
Little tapper by Flande back to the mound. That's an easy play. And 2 men are out for the top of the order. Charlie Blackmon leads off. Key at bat in the game, his 2nd inning double play. And Charlie Blackmon is our Georgia lottery hitting the jackpot feature.
He's torn the Braves up. 60 multi-hit games out of his last 7. That streak got stopped last night, but he still had a base hit. .517 average, 2 homers, 8 driven in.
They've got a very heavy state of Georgia presence on this Colorado ball club, and Blackmon, one of their bright young stars. Blackmon's teammates DJ LeMahieu and Ben Paulson both make their offseason homes here in Atlanta. Kyle Parker is from Evans. He's got family in Valdosta. Their director of Major League Operations, Paul Egan's, is a native of Columbus and a Georgia Bulldog. And Blackmon pops this one up to second. Jace Peterson says he's got it, and he does. Shelby Miller is on a roll. He's set down 11 straight. He leads by 1 at home against the Rockies.
And the Braves lead the Rockies 1-0. And it's truly been a frustrating season for Freddie Freeman, with not just one but 2 stints to the DL. First that wrist, then the oblique. And the unfortunate thing is he was swinging the bat so well leading up to that first trip. If you take a look, 66 games, he was hitting almost 300 with 12 home runs, 41 RBIs. Since then, just 17 games, hitting only 190. And earlier this week, Freddie told us that he's not really fully feeling how he should at the plate. He says timing will come. He knows that. Said the good news is I've never felt this great in the month of August, but he's really hoping to use that to his advantage to finish the season strong, guys.
Yeah, and Christina, I think that's a good point about all that rest is, I think, kind of leading to this maybe a little over aggressiveness that he's had at the plate, and the fact that he's kind of leaning out over the plate, diving into the plate, and the other teams are countering by pitching him in. And he's really kind of tying himself up so far.
Strike to Markakis as we hit the home fifth. 1-0 Braves. Gomes was walked to start the second. Christian Bethancourt broke his bat but brought him in with a ground out for the game's only run. Shelby Miller's been dazzling. He's set down 11 straight. Flandes walked 5, struck out 4, but has only given up 1 run. Pulled foul at first. 2 balls, 2 strikes. High hopper up the middle. Reyes ranges, flips off stride, and got his man. Good play. Markakis is retired. That brings up Cameron Maybin, tonight's subject of our Home Depot tools from the dugout.
His last 2 weeks have been outstanding. He's hit safely in 12 of those 13 games. 10 runs scored, so he's getting on base a lot at the top of the order. I like this 1-2 combo at the top.
And as well as Cameron's been swinging the bat since putting on a Braves uniform, as Christina and you just were talking about, Freddie's not swinging the bat great. Just think how good that trio could look when Freeman's in sync. And the hittable pitches Maben might get.
That's when you go into Freddie Gonzalez's office and lobby to hit cleanup, because you're going to have a lot of RBI chances.
Just missed outside. 2 balls and a strike. I think it's safe to say that Cameron Maben has resurrected his career in a Braves uniform this year.
No question.
He's happy. He's healthy. He's back in the South, where he says he much prefers to play.
Well, the two go hand in hand for him. He was guaranteed nothing when he came here because Eric Young Jr. was here and they were kind of platooning it at the beginning. So in San Diego, he knew his playing time was going to be very limited. By playing, he's gotten more consistent. He won the job, playing a lot more now, of course, and he's gotten better because he's playing.
Reyes with a backhand, shows off his arm. 2 outs. And his emergence has allowed the Braves to buy some more time for kids like Malik Smith in the minor leagues. It allowed them to move Jose Peraza, who was playing center field at Gwinnett, to get Hector Olivera, who may be here when rosters are expanded on September 1st. And Maben's under contract next season for the Braves. I would think that that's one less item the Braves have to check off on their to-do list going into the offseason in preparation for next year.
Yeah, that's one spot they don't have to worry about unless they want to worry about it.
Right. Shift on for Freeman, who fouls it off at the plate. 0-2.
It is all about timing for Freddie, and when he's on time, as Greg Walker used to say, there's nobody better. And right now that front shoulder is just, if you watch that, he is moving that to the plate and he can't clear his hips and his hands through there when they pitch him in. He's not quick enough yet to adjust to that, but part of that's because he is not giving himself a chance to do that.
Two balls, 2 strikes. Close pitch, but Freddie took it low. Full count.
Yeah, he could have gotten that. Let's see if he should have gotten it. Yes, says PNC Bank.
To second and in the shift. LeMahieu scrambles to his feet, and that will retire the side. 3 good defensive plays by the Rockies infield, and we head to the 6th. And part of our celebration, we want you to help us select the most memorable moment in Braves history. Who can forget Henry Aaron's 715th Major League home run to pass the great Babe Ruth, or Fred McGriff's Braves debut when the press box burned down across the street at Fulton County Stadium. Two unbelievable Braves moments. Go to Braves.com/A50 and relive them online.
Both great days. Hanks, of course, the record setter. Pretty amazing night.
Shelby Miller versus Jose Reyes, and a one-hopper out to second. And there's the first out. 12 up, 12 down for Shelby. Always good to get the fast man leading off the inning. Here's Gonzalez.
Yeah, the top two hitters in the lineup, 1 for 6 tonight.
The Rockies had 2 chances in the first 2 innings. First and third, 1 out, didn't score. Bases loaded, nobody out. In the second, didn't score.
Last time up, Shelby really worked Gonzalez. He had a great sequence. He started him in with fastballs down and in, kind of made him move his feet a little bit, but he established in, and then ultimately when he struck him out was on a pitch away.
You strike out a hitter as good as Gonzalez, you are doing good work. This man has 17 home runs since the All-Star break.
Take a look at this graph. First 2 pitches were in, moved him back like I said, then the 4th pitch was in. Everything else went away, including the strikeout pitch, number 6. All set up for that good hard work inside, which I think is vitally important, especially for guys that are hard throwers.
Gonzalez has missed a couple of breaking balls in the sequence. Let's see what the 2-2 brings. And a swing and a miss.
Shelby shaking his head like, oh, I got away with that one.
It was 87. I'm not sure what the pitch was, but it was effective. He has his 7th strikeout.
Might have been a backup slider. Had a little bit of slider spin. I don't think it was a 2-seamer.
Well, it was so bad it was good.
Yeah.
13 in a row retired. Here's LeMahieu, who was struck out. And that's over the inside corner. Last National League player to bat 1st through 9th was Will Venable. As Maben makes a great diving catch. Shelby likes that.
That looked like a golf ball that you hit with your wedge that just kind of balloons up there and the wind holds it up and waits for somebody to run under it. Great play.
It's all clicking for the Braves through 6 tonight. They lead 1-0. This catch by Cameron Maybin.
He never gave up on it, and it looked like it was one that was going to drop out in no man's land. But with the wind blowing in, it held it up for him, and he's our Zaxby's indescribably good play tonight.
Yeah, everybody's tongue was wagging on that play.
Yeah.
And Johnny Gomes flashing in behind Cameron Maybin. He's doing his best cheerleader's routine. He was jumping and hollering after that great play. And Mr. Gomes is the man that will lead off the Atlanta sixth. Johnny's the only man to touch the plate tonight. And that's the difference in the game. Great night to pitch. Wind is blowing straight in. That's why that early run was so important to get. And Atlanta got it in the second inning tonight. Bouncing ball foul past third. We wondered why Nolan Arenado was not in the lineup for the Rockies this evening. And Daniel Descalso was. Nothing wrong with Arenado. Walt Weiss wanted to give him tonight's game off. They have a day off tomorrow. Chance to give their best player an extended rest before they start a series with the Pirates up in Pittsburgh. And there's not a pitcher alive who would mind seeing Nolan Arenado take a night off.
No doubt.
Johnny check to swing. 1 ball, 2 strikes. San Diego 5-1 over Washington in the fifth. Mets 3-0 over the Phillies in the fifth. Dodgers 6-0 over the Reds in the fifth. Swing, drive, deep left field. Johnny Gomes has left the building. His second home run of the series, and he hit it under radar. 2-0 Atlanta.
Boy, did he time this breaking ball right. Blonde hasn't thrown many breaking balls, and maybe that was a changeup. But it looked like from up here it was a slider that didn't slide enough, and Johnny just dropped the barrel on it. Boy, did that thing jump.
His swing looked to be about 24 inches.
Yeah.
And it exploded again to left. His second home run of the series, his 7th for the season. And now a little more breathing room for Shelby Miller. It's 2-0 Atlanta. He hits one a mile toward right. Cargo's watching that one sail out of here. Are you kidding me?
That's it. Donuts wanted to come to the park tonight, atone for last night. And so far he's done that. 3 for 3 with a homer and another opposite field homer, but it was up, let her high. Great power the other way.
It's the third time the Braves have hit back-to-back homers this year. April 15th against the Marlins, July 1st against the Nationals. Gomes and Garcia, the Chi-Men, get it done in the 6th, and Flande now trails 3-0. I can't believe how quickly that ball got out of here and right. The wind blowing in. One ball, no strikes for Peterson, who's laid down a couple of sacrifice bunts.
Simon Castro has just gotten up, begin loosening in the pen. One ball, 2 strikes for Jace Peterson.
Chris Narveson gave up 7 runs for Miami tonight. The Pirates lead the Marlins 7-2. Later tonight, Cardinals are in Arizona. The Cubs play the Giants. Can anybody stop the Cubs?
2 more homers last night.
They have a chance to bury the Giants and virtually eliminate any hope for a wild card spot for San Francisco with a big series out west.
I believe that makes 14 home runs in 5 games for Chicago. No, that's not right. Bryant hit one in that makeup game.
Another shot deep toward the outfield. Blackman on the run. Can't get it. That'll bounce off the track and into the seats. 3 consecutive extra base hits for the Braves in the 6th inning. Peterson has his 21st double.
Keep it going. The more the merrier for Shelby Miller. All the hard work Jace has been putting in. He gets a ground rule double after 2 good sacrifices earlier in the game.
Christian Bethancourt has an RBI and a strikeout. Now Hundley will head to the mound and buy some more time for the Colorado bullpen.
That was at the request of his manager. He's trying to get his attention to tell him to go talk to him.
And that's going to be the end of the line for Mr. Flande. He was terrific through 5 innings, but ran into a 6th inning Atlanta buzzsaw. Back-to-back homers by Gomes and Garcia. Jace Peterson with a ground rule double. The Rockies bullpen is in play, down 3-0 at Turner Field.
Delta Airlines, and your local Ford dealer.
Braves have a big inning brewing in the 6th. 2 runs across. Peterson in scoring position with nobody out. Gomes and Garcia hit back-to-back homers. Adonis with a 3-hit night tonight. And now the Braves will get their first look at right-hander Simon Castro.
There is numbers in the Duke City. 5-5, 379. A lot of strikeouts. In fact, in his minor league career, where he started with the Padres, spent a little bit of time in the White Sox organization. A ton of strikeouts per innings pitched. 91-95 with a fastball and a slider.
This is just what Shelby Miller was hoping for tonight. Braves have given him 3 runs to play with, and he's held up his end of the bargain with 14 straight Rockies hitters retired. And the key, not giving up runs in the first 2 innings. Braves have not had to play from behind tonight.
Yep, still got to do the right thing here. Get him over, get him in. Still nobody out. Got Peterson out at second base. That 4th run would be mighty big, the way Chase is working right, or excuse me, the way Shelby's working right now.
And a strike. Christian drove home the first run of the game back in the Braves' second.
Just the second appearance for Castro. First one was a 2-inning stint, 2 hits, no runs. He hit a batter, struck out one. 6'5", 230.
Colorado signed him as a minor league free agent after last season. Pitched in 4 games with the White Sox in 2013. Did not pitch at all last year. And he missed badly upstairs. 3 balls, 1 strike. He had a good cut, fouled it back. Full count.
One thing we learned about Christian when he was up earlier this season is he can hit the ball to right field. Nice to see him go that way here.
Popped up. Wynn's going to push that back into the stands. Might recall Christian Bethancourt's first career homer beat the Pirates June 6th. It was right down the right field line. Just the second Brave in franchise history dating to 1876 whose first home run was also a walk-off homer. The other man to do that, Mark DeRosa, on July 21st, 2001. Swing and miss, didn't get a breaking ball. 1 out. So Bethancourt can't advance Peterson. Here's Simmons. They've pitched around him twice. Let's see how the Rockies approach this sequence.
Mark DeRosa and the Colorado Rockies come to mind when you think about Garcia's 3-error night last night. I know Mark will be very happy to hear me bring this up, but DeRosa, believe it or not, had a 4-error game at Coors Field one day.
Way outside, 1 ball, no strikes. Freddie Gonzalez was talking about that before the game. He said he believes B.J. Surhoff called him right after the game and said, well, you're officially a major leaguer now. Have a night like that. Got it out of the way. Last Braves rookie position player with a 3-error game was Billy Bruton in 1953 in Philadelphia. That's in regular season play. Brooks Conrad, of course, had that rough stretch in the postseason against the Giants. Three balls, no strikes for Simmons. Shelby Miller waits on deck. Long inning. 2 homers and a double so far for the Braves. They extend the lead to 3-0. And they walk Simmons again.
That's about a month's worth for Andrelton.
Pedro Siriaco might ask him, what's that like? Pedro hasn't walked yet this year. Miller a chance to bunt. He's laid down 9 sacrifices. He's 0 for 2 with a couple of strikeouts so far tonight. We're told that's Andrelton's 3rd 3-walk game in his big league career. Shelby got it down. It's a beauty. Runners at second and third. Boy, the Braves have handled the bat terrifically tonight. Three sacrifices for the Braves batsmen.
Typically with first and second, going to bunt the ball to third and make the third baseman field it. But this was just as good because it hit in the soft area in front of home plate and trickled onto the grass. And only one play left for Paulson to make. Great job. Sacrifice number 10 for Shelby.
Second and third for Nick Markakis with 2 men out. 0-1. Remember, Nick Markakis was our trivia question tonight. Last Brave with 180 or more hits. Nick has 147. And they're pitching him very carefully, as you'd expect. Markakis will have an 8-game hitting streak entering Friday's game with New York. Williams, Perez, and Tanaka will be the opposing pitchers. And ball 4. 7 walks have been issued by the Rockies staff tonight. They wanted no part of Markakis. They'll take their chances with Cameron Maybin, who all year long has been one of the best hitters in the league with runners in scoring position. Cameron at 371 with men in scoring position this year.
Yeah, that number with runners in scoring position has not really affected him and his numbers. He was up over 400 for a time this season, but still at 371 in late August. That's outstanding.
As Joe mentioned, last 10 games the Braves 174 with RISP. Last 42 games 224. First 84 games team RISP average 290. Chance to blow it open with 2 outs for Maybin. And a strike.
That's only the 5th strikeout of the last 17 pitches thrown.
So on firefighters night, Rockies have a 3-alarm blaze working. Bases loaded, down 3-zip. Approaching 9 o'clock, Maybin in the box. Shelby Miller dealing from the mound. Ground ball to Reyes. He's got it, and the flip to second will retire the side. But the Braves, for the 3rd time this year, got back-to-back homers. Johnny Gomes cranked one out to left. Adonis Garcia launched one deep into the seats in right. And that gives Shelby Miller a big lead as he goes to the 7th. There's a blissfully unaware young man in the Braves dugout right now.
It's always fun when you're leading and winning.
Now, who's responsible for that, you think, as Michael Bourne checks in?
I would have no idea.
I mean, that takes a deft touch to get the cup stuck to the cap. And I have a sneaking suspicion that that might be the perpetrator. There's a drive toward right off the bat of Ben Paulson, and that's going to bounce off the fence. And Paulson's on his way to second with a leadoff double. That is the first Colorado hit since Nick Hundley's, I take that back, since Brandon Barnes' second inning single. It's their first extra base hit since Hundley's double.
Shelby was in the dugout for a long time. Had an at bat, got a bunt down, but he was in the dugout a long time. And that double snaps his string of 14 in a row set down.
Laser Baker tells us during that stretch, Shelby threw only 44 pitches, 30 strikes, and threw strike one to 8 of those 14 hitters. Here's Hundley. He's doubled and popped out. Strike at the knees. To second. Good at bat by Hundley. Productive out. Runner to third. One away. Again last night, the Braves were very, very full of praise for Mike Foltynewicz's outing.
Coming along.
Four runs, not a single one of them was earned in his 5 innings of 5-hit baseball. What Freddie was really excited about was he showcased more of his pitches. He wasn't just rearing back and throwing fastballs. And a base hit by Descalso to left. That'll break the shutout bid. It's a 3-1 game, and now the Rockies will bring the tying run to the plate.
That's what's so important about what Hundley did. It's 3-0, but it's still just the 7th inning. So after the leadoff double, Hundley certainly would like to drive him in, but he got him over to third base at the very least, and that made it a little easier for Descalso to get him in. So now they're only down by 2.
And Barnes, and then the pitcher's spot coming up for Colorado. And Matt McBride is in the on-deck circle. Brandon Barnes is in the box. Miller could use another double play. Strike one.
Very late. Gonzalez Herman loosening.
In the air toward left, and Bourne can't get it. He plays it off his chest. The ball's going to trickle away from him. The throw's coming to second, and a head first slide safe is Barnes. And the Rockies are in business with runners at second and third and one out.
That one was not held up by the wind. It might have even been pushed down by the wind. Made it harder for Michael to run under it. Be a double.
And it will be McBride pinch hitting for Mr. Castro. He worked a scoreless inning with a couple of walks. So Miller's got to really buckle down here. A hit could tie the game.
One for 3 last night. He was also hit by a pitch.
9th pinch hit assignment for McBride this year. He's got 2 pinch hits. Rockies bench core has 40 pinch hits in total this year. They've hit 4 pinch hit homers. Charlie Blackmon lurks. He's on deck. 2nd and 3rd, 1 out, 2-run game. Line drive to second. That'll help. And 2 are out.
Jace Peterson couldn't get that ball to get to him quick enough. He was coming to it, hoping they might have a chance for a double play at the bag at second. And Andrelton was streaking over there, but rather than risk a wild throw, Jace was smart in hanging on to it.
So here's Blackmon, then Reyes. Outside corner strike. Well, you look at Charlie with the eye black and that scruffy beard. At first glance, he looks a lot like Adam LaRoche.
Yeah, he does. He really does.
Popped up foul. It's 0-2.
I thought coming back to Atlanta, especially all his Georgia Tech friends would say, you know, you got to do something about the beard, dude.
Not cutting it for you, is it?
Didn't happen.
Nope.
Another one of the soggy bottom boys.
No balls, 2 strikes. Big sequence for Miller. High hopper. That's tough play. Fast man. Simmons has no play. Blackmon bounced one right off the plate. And on an 0-2 count, he gets an infield chopper to bring the Rockies to within a run. It's 3-2 now.
Heck of a way to get your 50th RBI of the year. Right off the plate. See the vibration shaking the plate. Goodness.
Well, now you really have to count on Bethancourt to block anything in the dirt, with Barnes at third base and Reyes in the box, and he almost threw it to the screen. Ball 1.
Remember just a few minutes ago when I said that 4th run would be awfully big for the Braves when they had a runner at second, nobody out.
So Blackmon extends his hitting streak to a dirty dozen. He's at first. Moylan and Marksberry are loosening. 1-0 pitch.
Yes, he did.
You're right. Even count.
Again, left-handed. He likes the ball down and in.
Have to keep an eye on Blackmon. He's stolen 33 bases.
Reyes really getting out there quickly too, trying to get out and get his hands moving to gear up for the mid-90s fastball.
Don't want to face Carlos Gonzalez in the 7th.
No, sir.
Blackmon's running. Swing, fly ball, right center field. That one's tailing away from everybody. It's in the gap. A run is in. Here comes Blackmon around third. He's going to score. Reyes on his way to third with a bases clearing triple. And just like that, the Rockies have scored 4 runs and have erased a 3-0 lead for Shelby Miller. Unbelievable.
Got a hitter's count. Target was away, but the pitch had a lot of the middle of the plate. Knee high. It was down. Wasn't down and in his wheelhouse, but down and out over the plate. And the ball took a divot once it hit and got by Cameron Maybin, allowed him to get an extra base.
So the first 2 hits for Reyes come in game 3 of the series. A 7th inning triple puts the Rockies in front. And now you do have to face Gonzalez, but the Braves will take the bat out of his hands and get after DJ LeMahieu. Funny how the game works. The Rockies had opportunities early to score, didn't. The Braves had a chance to add on in the 6th inning after scoring on leadoff homers. Couldn't. And the Rockies have rebounded with a 4-run inning. So first and third, 2 outs. And now you're facing LeMahieu, who's no slouch at the plate himself. He's 0 for 3 tonight, batting cleanup for the first time this year. And LeMahieu will not face Shelby Miller for a 4th time. Unbelievable. Miller was cruising along, led by 3 runs after 6 innings. But departs trailing tonight, and his frustrating run will continue to 18 starts. 4-3 Rockies.
Georgia Power, and Zaxby's.
Shelby Miller led by 3. A leadoff double in the 7th began his unraveling. The Rockies have scored 4 times and have taken a 4-3 lead. They've got men at the corners, and Peter Moylan is on to face DJ LeMahieu.
7th game now for Peter. He worked an inning last night, gave up a hit, zeros across, had a strikeout. That was his first full inning of work. Braves need him to get the team out of this inning without any more runs scored. Hopefully he can get a ground ball.
1 pitch in this inning, the biggest pitch. That was the 0-2 chopper off the bat of Charlie Blackmon.
Yeah.
It doesn't hit the plate. It's probably a ground out. The inning's over, and Miller's cruising along. But no such luck. And now again, Bethancourt's got to stop anything that might be down and away and keep Reyes at third base. LeMahieu, 9th man to hit in the inning for the Rockies. Cargo at first. This 7th inning also the dilemma for Freddie Gonzalez. Young, inexperienced bullpen, a bullpen that's been used a lot lately. He would have loved to have seen Shelby get out of the inning, but he had to go get him. 2 balls, no strikes.
Another sad part about this inning was the fact that he got ahead of Reyes on that check swing, so he had him 0-1, and then the count went to 3-1.
Three balls and a strike.
LeMahieu likes to take the ball to right field, and Moylan's trying hard to keep the ball in on him so he can still work that outside corner. See what happens here now with the hitter's count.
Driven toward right. Markakis, leaping grab, made it. That looked like big time trouble, but he recovered with a leaping grab to rob DJ LeMahieu of at least 1 RBI. Moylan sends us to the stretch. Colorado's in front though, 4-3 your score. They're leading him 4-3 tonight in Game 3 of our series. Braves fans, tonight only thanks to the Braves Steal of the Week. Get Club Pavilion seats for $25 each, or Terrace Reserved seats for just $35 when the Yankees come to town this Sunday, August 30th. Visit Braves.com/steal before midnight tonight to take advantage of this great offer. Former Braves Brian McCann and Mark Teixeira will be in town for the Yankees. And that Sunday game, a great matchup. Julio Teheran and Nathan Eovaldi.
Christian Friedrich is in his third game of this series. Just a third of an inning. Gave up a hit on Monday night. Last night he worked 2/3 of an inning, recorded a strikeout, no hits or runs. Fastball, slider, curve.
And believe it or not, with all the pitching issues the Rockies have had this year, right now their pen's doing good work. They have thrown scoreless ball in each of their last 3 games, something they have last done late May. The Braves have their work cut out for them as Freddie Freeman starts things off for the Braves. Michael Bourne and Adonis Garcia to follow. We're in the 7th, 4-3. Colorado leads it. Ouch. 0-2.
Freddie does that on occasion and refuses to wear a shin guard. Wishes he had one on there.
One ball, 2 strikes. Mentioned Friedrich a couple of times, was a former #1 pick by the Rockies 7 years ago. And he just struck out Freddie Freeman for the first out of the inning. 1 down.
Let's take a look at that last swing by Freeman from the side. He's getting his front foot down in good shape, but everything else keeps going. Everything's moving forward. Now that was a breaking ball. He was fooled badly on, but same thing has been applying with the other pitches that I've been talking about, where he's been kind of jamming himself, getting his front foot down, but everything else keeps going.
How do you fix it?
Just try to stay back. You just got to make yourself, when you plant that foot, not let everything go with you. That imaginary wall against your right shoulder.
Bourne tried to bunt his first at bat tonight, and he's behind strike 1. Don't be fooled by that .098 average for Bourne. He has hit a lot of tough luck. He squared up 9 or 10 balls since coming over from Cleveland, but has little to show for it. 0-1. And topped foul. 0-2. So Shelby Miller's unbelievable run will continue into his next start. And that will come in Washington against the Nationals, I believe.
Miami.
Miami, excuse me. Yeah, it'll be against the Marlins. How about the Marlins coming in? The end of the road trip. Or at the end of the homestand before the road trip, I should say. 0-2 still to Bourne. 18 straight starts without a win for Shelby Miller. He had a 3-run lead. And right now he's in line for the loss. Rockies tried long and hard to make a starter out of Christian Friedrich. 112 minor league games, 98 starts. He was 21-34. Started 19 games in the major leagues. His overall record between starting and relieving coming into this season, 5-12 with an ERA over 6. 2012 star-crossed year for him. He had a stress fracture in his lower back. Started the year 4-1 with a 4.50 ERA. Then the back problems cropped up and need to make him a reliever.
Well, I can empathize with that. When I see these guys that are #1 picks, took a long time, let's say, to get to the big leagues, and then they haven't had a ton of success. To me, it's almost like, okay, he's throwing too many strikes in the zone. His command in the zone is too good. He's getting clobbered. So there's got to be a way to work on that. His pitches behind in the count. He's got to be able to work away. He's got to work down and away, as Leo would tell you. And if you keep getting the middle of the plate, that lack of success will keep up.
In the air, shallow center, and Bourne has a blue pit. So he represents the tying run. And Bourne's aboard in front of Garcia, who's had a perfect night, 3 for 3, including a homer.
Looked like that pitch had the middle of the plate. Fastball. And Michael able to fight it off.
So Friedrich struck out Freddie Freeman. He gave up the hit to Michael Bourne, and now Walt Weiss is going to make another pitching change. He's going to go righty-righty and try to retire Garcia, something no Rocky has done tonight. 4-3 Colorado. Braves rallying in the 7th.
Let's do this. The Georgia Lottery. And your local Toyota dealers. Let's go places.
4-3 Rockies. Michael Bourne's at first with 1 out in inning number 7. Fans watch every out-of-market game live or on demand in true HD on over 400 mobile and connected devices with MLB.TV Premium. Real-time highlights, live look-ins, pitch tracking widgets, and more every night on every device. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Go to MLB.TV for details. This is Jairo Diaz. I saw him earlier in the series.
Yeah, he can rush it up there. Worked an inning last night, struck out a batter. 2 fly ball outs and a strikeout. Garcia hit against him last night and lined out to center.
Tied him up inside. 1 ball, 1 strike. Nice comeback night at the plate for Adonis Garcia. way outside.
One of the things widely regarded about the Rockies bullpen is that they gave up a lot of runs, last in all those categories except against Atlanta. Against the Braves, their ERA is 2.16.
They have not allowed a run in this series to the Braves, who need 1 to tie, 2 to take a lead. Pitch, swing and a miss. 2 balls, 2 strikes. He got him. Garcia chased and is out number 2. So his perfect night comes to a close. And it's up to Jace Peterson to keep the inning alive. Jace has 2 sacrifice bunts and a double. As Joe mentioned, that double is the run that the Braves wish they had dearly right now. He was at second with nobody out. And the Braves couldn't get him in.
Good speed at first. A double again would tie it up.
One ball, 1 strike.
Trying to keep the ball down and away. That was a slider. But if you're Jace, the success he had on that ball that he hit to deep right center, stay with it. Stay back through the middle. Think about left center. And then react to anything inside.
Peterson lines a 2-1 pitch into right field. There's a base hit with 2 outs. And now the tying run at second base. And Nick Swisher has grabbed a bat.
That's the way to turn on the ball. Turn on it when you're trying to do something else and react to a ball that was up. Was not trying to pull that ball. He wasn't thinking pull. He just reacted to it. Really good swing there. Stayed back. Nice level cut.
So Swisher will hit for Bethancourt. Nick 1 for 3 as a pinch hitter for the Braves this year. Overall hitting .243 in an Atlanta uniform with 3 homers and 10 RBIs. And now Diaz getting some scouting reports from Steve Foster.
Braves carrying 3 catchers, an opportunity to do this that normally Freddie Gonzalez probably wouldn't entertain when he only had 2 catchers.
So Bethancourt 0 for 3, but with an RBI tonight. He'll give way to Swisher with 2 on and 2 out, 1-run game. Downstairs, ball 1. good stop. 2-0. Colorado has pitched around Andrelton Simmons all night tonight. If Swisher reaches, they won't have that luxury. He's on deck.
Seen some good play by opposing catchers in the last 2 series. Montero in Chicago was great on some balls in the dirt in that 4-game series.
Down the left field line, but that's slicing into the seats. Another great stop. Wow.
Boy, turning that glove over, trying to make sure that he leans out over it. When it does hit him, it's going to stay close. Well done.
Let's see if Swisher gets a hittable pitch. 3-1 the count. He didn't. Outside, they're loaded. The Rockies have walked 8 Braves hitters in this game. One of them has scored.
For a guy who wants to swing the bat and loves to swing the bat, Nick Swisher has a good eye. He's going to, especially in those counts 3-1 where you think he's going to come out of his shoes. Several times already we've seen him lay off pitches that were borderline because they weren't where he wanted it. 3-1.
Andrelton has Bourne, Peterson, and Swisher aboard. The grand slam, we're told, in his career came against Colorado.
I think it was in the first inning of a game.
Inside, ball 2. A walk ties the game. Now Jose Reyes in to talk. Two hits, 2 strikeouts, and a walk. And some full of Braves down a run. And Walt Weiss is pacing again. Got the call. 2-1.
Good eye by Andrelton. Not because he took a strike, but because he took a strike where he didn't want it. 2-0. Hitters count. Make sure you get your pitch. That was a pretty good pitcher's pitch behind.
And another one.
That was one Andrelton has been, at least lately, teeing off on. Inner third. But it was also at 97.
So after Reyes chewed him out, Diaz has rallied with 2 straight strikes. 2-2 the count. And Hundley another save. 3-2. He's got to throw a strike now. So all the Braves runners will go on the merry-go-round.
Make sure he goes to the plate before you break.
3 balls, 2 strikes. Here it comes. Bouncing ball to Reyes. He's got it. He'll have to make the peg to first. And that retires the side. Another opportunity lost for Atlanta, this time in the home 7th. Rockies 4, Braves 3.
Low price every day.
4-3's your score after 7 complete here in Atlanta with Joe Simpson, Christina Fitzpatrick, Chip Carey with you from Turner Field. As we promised you earlier tonight, we've selected our Data Strong fan photo of the game. Tweet your strongest fan photo to #SouthDataStrongFan for a chance to be featured in an upcoming broadcast. That's brought to you by T-Mobile.
Jimmy Gregory here at the ball game, it looks like.
And A.J. Brzezinski checks in. He's behind the plate for Atlanta. Edwin Jackson is on the mound for the Braves, who trail 4-3. Rockies will have their 5, 6, and 7 hitters coming up.
Edwin worked earlier in this series, Monday night, 2/3 of an inning, a hit, no runs. Gave up his only runs that he's allowed as a Brave against his old club, the Cubs, on the 22nd in Chicago, and took the loss.
A.J. Brzezinski will bat in the number 9 slot. Jackson will hit 7th when the Braves come up for the 8th inning. Ben Paulson bats. Paulson started the Rockies rally in the 7th with a leadoff double off Shelby Miller, who allowed all 4 of the Colorado runs. And that's upstairs, ball 1.
I just have to feel that after he'd retired 14 in a row, Shelby sat in the dugout for a long time in the Braves bottom of the 6th.
Popped up. Peterson drifts out. Still going. Got there. Sliding grab. Paulson's out, number 1.
Just wonder if Shelby went out and tightened up or wasn't quite as loose as he'd like to be to start the 7th after sitting for a while, because he was mowing them down.
Good start for Edwin. He gets the leadoff man for the Rockies. And here's Nick Hundley. Big story in the American League tonight. Tigers and Angels. That game's in the 8th inning in Comerica Park. Justin Verlander's got a no-hitter through 8. He is no-hitting Mike Trout and Albert Pujols in company tonight. We'll keep you posted on that. San Diego leads Washington 6-5 now in the 8th inning. That's 6-1 over the Phillies in the 8th inning. If those scores hold, it'll be a 6.5 game lead for New York in the East. Pittsburgh finished off Miami tonight 7-2. Cubs and Giants get started in about a half an hour. Late swing. It fooled him. 1 ball, 2 strikes. It's fouled away. And Hundley awaits another 1-2 pitch. Line to short. Simmons to an E. Has it. 2 down. And here's Descalso, who brought home the first Colorado run with an RBI single. As I mentioned, Descalso, a former Cardinal. They've had some good players leave that organization, and they just keep on keeping on, don't they? And he ropes one into right. Markakis will play that one off the wall. Takes a funny hop, and Descalso has another hit. This one a ringing double with 2 outs. Cardinals, the first team in the big leagues to 80 wins. They won last night in Arizona.
Fastball straight and center cut. And you're right about how they just keep reloading good talent throughout their system. They keep promoting guys from within. And if they can just get Holiday healthy.
I was going to say that's the amazing thing about the Cardinals. Hayward's been in and out of the lineup with hamstring problems. Holiday's been in and out with the quad problems. Wainwright's missed almost the entire year. Matt Adams, quad problem. Yet they have almost lapped the field in the National League this year.
I heard Mike Matheny talking about Wainwright yesterday. Might have been a couple of days ago, about how he is just nailing this rehab on his torn Achilles daily. He's just working, where he would not rule him out for the end of the year or the postseason. And he tore that Achilles in early May.
Well, it's not like the Cardinals don't need him, but you look at their team ERA, Joe, they're at 2.67 as a club without their ace. Amazing.
Yeah, Walker's had a heck of a year, kind of assuming that role.
He's 10th in the league in ERA, second in wins to Jake Arrieta of the Cubs. Cardinals have an excellent bullpen too, anchored by Trevor Rosenthal. Jaime Garcia's pitched well for him.
They've just got to keep everybody healthy.
John Lackey goes for him tonight against Patrick Corbin. Cardinals won 9-1 in the desert last night. They got 4 runs in the first and never looked back for Jaime Garcia. Barnes behind in the count. 1 ball, 2 strikes. And now 2-2. Nolan Arenado is waiting on deck. When you don't start your stars, you get to use them wherever you want, and he may come up in the 8th. Reds are trying to come back on the Dodgers, who are having bullpen problems. 6-4 in the 8th. 2 on, 1 out at the Great American Ballpark. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Avilan has struggled. Jim Johnson has struggled since putting on Dodger uniforms. Edwin Jackson about to make his 16th pitch. Got the first 2 outs quickly. Descalso doubled. Now it's 2-2 to Brandon Barnes.
About that hard slider. That was so effective the first time we saw him in a Braves uniform.
Body blocked by A.J. Pierzynski. Full count.
That was an attempt, but that wasn't quite it.
That's a big run out at second base. Swing and a fly ball belted toward left field. Brandon Barnes has hit a 2-run homer. With 2 outs in the 8th inning, the Rockies have doubled up the Braves. It's 6-3. Barnes a triple away from the cycle. His 2nd home run.
That was another attempt at the breaking ball, but a hanger. And for the 2nd night in a row for Barnes, it's all about the runs.
So it'll be Kyle Parker now, not Arenado. And as we've said a couple of times, right now for Freddie Gonzalez, there are very few reliable options in his bullpen. This one's hit a mile high in the air toward right. Wynn's playing tricks with it. Markakis made the grab, and that retires the side. So the Braves have to come back against a Rocky bullpen on a roll, but now they're in a 3-run hole. 6-3 is your score. runs in the 7th and the 8th inning combined, and lead tonight's ball game by a 6-3 score. Let's get back to our AT&T Universe trivia question. Nick Markakis individually having a great year. He's got 147 hits. Name the last Brave with a season of 180 or more hits.
I'm going to say Chipper.
I'm going to say Martin Prado.
Oh, good one.
Chipper's teammate in 2012. Martin Prado had a great year for the Braves, remember? And as happy as we were to acquire Justin Upton from the Diamondbacks, it was heartbreaking to trade Martin Prado to Arizona in that deal.
Way to go. You are on top of your trivia game.
Man, I'm not going to flip the bat on that one. That was kind of a wild guess.
Yeah. I would like for you to work on your 2-2 count.
2-2?
Yeah.
Not so good.
2-2 pitch.
Okay. Let's see if we can get to one here.
All right.
You can critique me in just a moment. AJ tries to bunt and rolls it foul. 0-1 to the Braves catcher.
No, that's not a problem.
Yeah. 0-1. We're good.
Yeah, you're good there.
Okay. Shift on for Przinsky.
Just trying to get on. That's a good idea. Might try it again.
He did. Chris Iannetta, by the way, broke up Verlander's no-hit bid, a leadoff double in the 9th inning. For the Angels, who trail the Tigers 5-0. Isn't
that amazing how many no-hitters get spoiled in the 9th inning?
Great story, though, for Verlander. All the struggles he had early in the season. He's pitching much better for the Tigers. It's back to the screen. And the Angels, that's a funny team to try to figure out. For a while, they were knocking at the door of the AL West. They've really struggled since the All-Star break.
They've taken the lead in the West at one point.
At the All-Star break, I think by a half game or a game. But they're 5 games out. Fly ball toward left. And that's playable. Przinsky's retired, 1 out. The good news for the Twins, their best route for the playoffs might be the wild card race. They're only a half game behind the Rangers.
The Angels, you mean?
The Angels are a half game behind the Rangers in the wild card.
Oh, the Twins are too. I beg your pardon.
They're in there too.
I didn't realize they were that close.
What would you say the, I guess, reasonable would be 5 games or less for the wild card to be considered a legitimate contender? You know, a lot of teams to pass.
Yeah, if you've got 4 or 5 teams to climb over, that might even be too many.
But you got the White Sox 5 back, but 6 under 500. The Rays and Baltimore 2.5 back. Twins and Angels a half game back.
Baltimore's lost 6 in a row.
0-2. What's frustrating for National League fans is you've got the 3 best teams all playing in the same division. Cardinals, Pirates, and Cubs. And if that's how the playoffs were to go in the National League, after divisional play, only one of those 3 teams would be left standing in the National League playoff race. As Markakis didn't get it, and he's down on strikes. 2 up, 2 down. There was a story in the Wall Street Journal today talking about maybe baseball ought to consider eliminating the divisions and just go with 2 15-team leagues and have the top 5 teams make it, irrespective of what we now know as divisional play. Don't know if that'll come to pass.
I mean, in a way, that's what we do anyway, isn't it? Top 5.
Right. But what they're saying is
benefit of the division leaders.
And the hard part is obviously with the wild card being a one-game shootout, one of those teams goes home after one loss after a great year. And right now it would be the Pirates versus the Cubs for one game and the right to advance and the right to play St. Louis. Ground ball third, diving stop does Calso. Great play. And the Rockies are rolling. Their bullpen has not given up a run in the series. They have scored 6 unanswered runs, and they will go to the 9th inning in great position to take 2 out of 3 in Atlanta. 6-3 is your score.
Game in the 7th inning when the Rockies scored 4 runs. This was a big play with 2 outs, a big chopper off the plate by Charlie Blackmon that got a run in, and then on a 3-1 count, a triple in the gap by Jose Reyes. That played it 2 more, and that put them on top, and they haven't looked back. They've added to that and lead this 6-3 going to the top of the 9th inning.
Yeah, I can't blame lack of run support on this one for Shelby Miller. He led 3-0 after 6. And Andrew McCurahan goes to work. He's the 4th Atlanta pitcher. And he's got the top of the Colorado order coming up. Blackmon, Reyes, and Carlos Gonzalez. Much will be made of the Reyes triple, and rightfully so. The Descalso single. But I think Blackmon's chopper off the plate on an 0-2 count was the decisive hit in the 7th inning. That hits an inch behind the plate or 3 inches in front of the plate. It's probably ground out. The inning's over and Miller is on his way. Instead, it was an infield hit. A run scored. Reyes followed with triple, and the Rockies haven't looked back.
We've talked about bullpen woes most of the season, Chip. But at home recently, the Braves bullpen has been very good. And this was coming into tonight. I know Edwin Jackson's given up a 2-run homer, but coming into tonight at home, the Braves bullpen since the All-Star break, 288. Only 2 home runs allowed prior to tonight. So that's very good work at Turner Field by these guys.
2-2 the count for Charlie Blackmon, and fouled away. And the same thing that we say about the Braves rotation is something you can say about the Braves relief corps. Lots of youth, lots of inexperience, lots of growing pains. And the Braves, though, feel that in some cases there are lots of upsides in that relief crew. Carahan, one of them. 2-2 pitch. Is low and outside. Full count. Andrew is the lone holdover from the opening day roster on the Braves relief staff. The only one. And he just broke Blackman's bat. Freeman to the bag. Nice recovery. 1 out.
Was talking at dinner tonight about the last game that Shelby Miller won in Miami on May 17th. McCurahan had already been suspended, so there was no one from that bullpen that's on the team right now when Shelby Miller won that game.
Isn't that amazing? Two hits for Jose Reyes, who had no hits in the series until tonight. And he didn't get it. Strike 1. It goes without saying that, as we talked about, boxes to check off for this club going into next season, that Maben isn't one of those things that has to be worried about unless the Braves want to. They want to and need to improve the bullpen. They know that. Some of those young arms that are coming back from Tommy John surgery will certainly be in play. The Braves need to improve the relief corps, and they need to see some of the young starters start to grow a bit here in the final weeks of the season. Williams Perez, one of them. He'll get the ball here on Friday against the Yankees. Williams was great, then he got hurt. He has scuffled since. That's low. Reyes just walked with 1 out. Fast man aboard in a spot where you can't give him any more. 6-3 Colorado. And Gonzalez, the batter, he's got a hit and a walk.
That point you made earlier, Chip, is pretty remarkable. The fact that the Rockies have walked 8 men tonight and none of them have scored. Braves have left 11 men on base to this point.
Reyes is running. Pitch a strike. Brzezinski's throw a strike, and just a touch late. Reyes in safely with his 4th stolen base as a Rocky. And he had 16 with Toronto.
And his 20th for the season. Good throw. Stole it on the left-hander. Went on his first move.
So Cargo took a strike. Now he's chasing down an RBI hit. Colorado has 11 hits tonight. Upstairs, even count. They're in the bottom of the 9th inning in Washington. Padres 6, Nationals 5. Mets 9-4 over the Phillies in the 9th. Ground ball. Peterson to his right. And he got his man 2 outs. Reyes at third base. John Axford begins to loosen in the Colorado pen. He may, in all likelihood, come on to try to save it in the 9th. There's John.
Braves are 0 for 7 with runners in scoring position. The Rockies are 5 for 13.
And they'll take the bat out of the hands of DJ LeMahieu. If you're not aware of who this guy is, you might want to start following him in the box scores. He is a really good major league player. Didn't have a hit tonight. That's because the Braves made 2 outstanding plays against him. Maben robbed him in the 6th. Markakis took away a run scoring hit in the 7th. The Braves will put him on with an intentional walk. and go after Ben Paulson, the left-hand hitting Colorado first baseman. That's the 4th walk issued by the Braves tonight. Paulson 1 for 4, 2 strikeouts, a double, a run, and he's also popped out.
He got the 4-run 7th, started with a double off Shelby after striking out his first 2 times.
At the knees, even count. That's one thing you like about McCurry, he's got a good live arm. That was a mid-90s fastball.
Yeah, got it by him upstairs. Make a good pitch here in the inning.
Runner at first goes, and he does just that. Joe, good call. Paulson strikes out, slams the bat into the ground, and the Rockies will take a 6-3 lead into the bottom of the 9th inning in Atlanta. Has been as big a story in this series as their offense has been, and that is our Toyota key play of the game.
Unbelievable work against the Braves. 4 games out in Colorado where they were terrific and picked up a 4-game sweep right before the All-Star break. But against everybody else, their ERA is over 5. And a chance to leave town with a series win here if John Axford can close it out.
Axford will have the 3, 4, and 5 hitters coming up for the Braves. He's 17 for 22 in saves for the Rockies. And Axford pitched here in yesterday's game for Colorado. A tune-up for him. And it was an easy 9th inning. Before the Braves come up, I want to wish our friend Jack Kennedy all the best. Jack's having some medical issues that have him sidelined. We hope all will go well for him tomorrow. We wish him and his lovely wife Donna all the best. So Jack, if you're watching tonight, all of us are thinking about you and can't wait to see you back here at the ballpark.
Hear, hear.
Freddie in an 0 for 13 slide, and he's got Axford to deal with, and an infield shift too. 6-3 Rockies. They've out hit the Braves 11-8. Braves have left more men on base tonight. They've stranded 11 men. And that sunk low, ball 1. Padres beat the Nationals. It's a final 6-5 at Nationals Park. Washington is in trouble. 63 and 62 now. And could be 6.5 out if the Mets hang on in the 9th. 1 ball, 1 strike for Freeman.
They've got a lot of games left with the Mets.
Taken low. 3 balls and a strike. Interesting note on the Mets that I read earlier today. Mets this year are 17-1 against the Phillies and Rockies. They're 0-13 against the Cubs and Pirates this year. At the knees, full count.
Just watching Hundley move around back there behind the plate. He looks like a slinky. He's kind of up and down to get into his catching position, but very loose.
Freeman goes the other way. That's an encouraging sign. When he does that, he starts a hot streak. Hopefully that'll be the case tonight. Good start to the Atlanta 9th. And here's Michael Bourne.
Stayed back a little better, fought it off. Maybe that'll get him going. Good start to the inning. Braves only down 3.
Michael Bourne had a base hit. He checked in the 7th inning. He replaced Johnny Gomes, who scored 2 of the Braves' 3 runs. One of those was a long homer to left. One ball, 1 strike.
Need another base runner. Get Michael on there. Have Adonis Garcia come up again, who has 3 hits tonight, including a homer.
What a stop.
It's almost a lock they'll bring the tying run to the plate, because they always do.
Right? Here's the slinky man.
Yeah, there's a slinky. Breaking ball. All he can do is run over there and try and throw his glove at it on the backhand. Well done.
Bourne battling in the ninth. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Atlanta led 3-0 after 6. 4 in the 7th, 2 in the 8th for the Rockies. Braves have a man on, nobody out in the 9th. And Bourne couldn't stop himself. Something off speed fooled him, and he struck out for the first out of the inning.
Axford has a slider and a curveball. This time went to a slow curve, it looked like, and that was the ticket.
Yep.
The one that he bounced up there before that Hundley made such a nice stop on. He's got a 4.50 ERA, Axford, so he hasn't exactly been automatic.
How much of that is park effect, though, in Colorado?
He's only given up 4 homers, so I can't say.
I mean, that's the hardest thing to evaluate about any of these Colorado pitchers.
Yeah.
Pitching at home versus on the road. I mean, the numbers are what they are, but the overall effect on ERA is obviously very, very high for their pitching staff or any pitcher who goes to Coors Field. Strike 2 to Garcia, who's had a terrific night at the plate for the Braves. 3 hits, including a home run in back-to-back fashion back in the 6th.
I'd say when you throw it 98 on the outside corner, he's not doing that a lot at Coors Field.
Upper deck and out of play, and if you missed it, here's the home run. It got out of here in a big hurry the other way for Garcia.
Things were looking pretty good right here when he had gone back to back with Johnny Gomes. That made it 3-0.
Drew looked it up for us. Axford's home ERA is 5.25. His road ERA is 3.57. A run and 3/4 difference between home and road.
We've talked a lot about Garcia's opposite field power. 3 to center, 3 to right. Has not pulled one yet. That's a good thing. You got that kind of power the other way, and you're not trying to pull everything. So I'd say there is some park effect on Axford. Probably why he's walked 24.
Rolled foul. He'll do it again. 1 ball, 2 strikes. The Mets did win tonight. They lead by 6.5 games now in the East. They subdued the Phillies 9-4 the final. Verlander finished with a 1-hitter, beat the Angels 5-0. Toronto 10-2 over Texas in the 6th. Jays could have a 2-game lead in the AL East at the end of tonight's play. Braves will have a chance to make life tough on the Yankees this weekend. The game was moving briskly and crisply through 6. A lot of pitches, a lot of runs, a lot of pitching changes since. And a ground ball to short. Reyes has it. 2nd one. LeMahieu's turn late. Game still alive for Atlanta, but the Braves are down to their final out. And it'll be Jace Peterson's turn to hit. He's 2 for 2 with a couple of sacrifices. One outside for Jace Peterson. Colorado Rockies have never really enjoyed playing at Turner Field. Entering this series, they were 8-32 in their last 40 games played in this ballpark. They're an out away from taking 2 of 3 in this series. Two balls, no strikes. At the knees.
Braves will have an off day tomorrow. Their first one in 2 weeks, and they will certainly welcome that.
Colorado will go to Pittsburgh and try to play the role of the spoiler with the Pirates. 2-1 count. Low. 3-1. The base runner brings the tying run to the plate, and Pedro Siriaco has grabbed a bat.
Almost have to make him throw you a strike here. Try to get that tying run to the plate.
That grazed a corner, full count.
Got the benefit of the doubt on that one. They'll move the shift around now. 3-2.
Runner goes, fly ball center. Blackman coming on, can't get there. And the Braves will bring the tying run to the plate. Peterson with a 3-hit night tonight keeps the game alive for Siriaco.
Fastball and a good one. Just thinking about the center of the diamond. 3-hit night for Jace after 2 sacrifice bunts.
Pedro's done an excellent job for the Braves off the bench all year long. Can he keep the line moving here? He's 10 for 32 in a pinch. Strike one from Axford.
Well, this is where the Braves have struggled tonight. 0 for 7 and just 4 for 28 in this series with a runner in scoring position.
Two of their 3 runs came on solo homers. Their other run came on a ground out. And now Siriaco and the Braves down to their final strike against John Axford. 6-3 Rockies.
Add-on runs in the 8th. Huge right now.
Barnes 2-out 2-run homer off Jackson. Broke it open for the Rockies. The 0-2 pitch. And that's your ball game. The Colorado Rockies enter their personal house of horrors in Atlanta and promptly take 2 out of 3 from the Braves. They come back and stun Shelby Miller, who led 3-0 after 6. They score 6 unanswered runs. And Simon Castro extends Shelby Miller's winless string to 18 consecutive games. 6-3 the final. We'll recap it for you in a moment.